Welcome to Unit 2 on blogs. Obviously, this lesson will focus on blogs. The objectives just really quickly want to run through so you know what you're getting into. The primary objective for this will be to create a blog. We're going to go over some blogging platforms and creating accounts. Also, ways to identify resources, support, help, FAQs, things like that. And the final section is when we'll really get into the meat of good web design and good pedagogy. Quickly situating where we're at. Remember, the prior unit was Unit 1 on the Internet versus Web 2.0, where the Internet was pretty much static and one-way communication. Web 2.0 is now much more dynamic, many more people involved, reading and writing, posting, collaborating, sharing, and two of those examples of those Web 2.02s are blogs and wikis, and this unit is going to spend most of its time talking just about blogs. Blog is quite an interesting word, and quite frankly, 5, 6, 7 years ago, when it first started gaining traction, many people just turned their eyes up to it. It is kind of a weird wording. It comes from weblog. I put it up here. Weblog. It turned into weblog, and then they dropped the we, and here we have blogs. In essence, a blog is an online public journal. I wanted to put public there so that it stood out to you. There are online blogging platforms, and both of the ones that we're going to talk about will allow you to set your blog to private. There are many people who choose to journal online in a blogging format and blog just like many other people do very publicly. They just do it privately. For the context of this unit, we're going to talk about creating an online public journal. If you're using this or going to be using this in your classroom with students, know KNOW, know that there are ways to create private journals or journals that can only be shared with particular individuals, like between a teacher and a student, or a parent and a child, or a teacher and a teacher. Format-wise, format is what makes the difference for a blog. When I'm first trying to explain what blogs and wikis and websites are and how to just wrap your mind around it, a blog works great if you're going to be posting fairly regularly. You want it to be chronologically organized. You want others to be able to comment on it, although you can cut that function off and on, and you can set that. And it's dated. Obviously, if it's ordered chronologically, it's going to be dated. Newer additions to the platforms that we're going to talk about have focused on creating ways for static pages to be made, almost Web 1.0-ish kind of pages. We're not going to focus too much time on that. But just know that there are ways to have static pages. For example, the unit and the tutorial that you're in right now is on a WordPress blogging platform, although I've created this such that it's not actually using the weblog function. But that's another tutorial for another time. In the classroom, there are tons of ways that blogs can be used in the classroom, both public and private, with public and private settings. I've listed just three briefly right here, and that's because there are many different links below, and I'm also going to ask you to think about this in a little bit. Number one is to create either a journal, obviously in the format of blog, being dated chronologically and encouraging reflection, doing it as a teacher or having your students do it. Many blogs can be used to chronicle projects. I used to teach an exploratorium or a field trip where we would go and ride roller coasters and study the physics behind roller coasters, and we used a blog to keep track of all of the work and the data that we were collecting. And you can also use it as a website, much like I'm doing right now. There are two primary blogging platforms that we're going to focus on for this unit. The first is Blogger and the second is WordPress. Blogger was recently, within the past year or two, bought by Google. So if you have a Google account or a Gmail account, you automatically have access to Blogger. It will be under your More options, which we'll talk about in the next screencast. WordPress is also another extremely popular blogging platform. You may be wondering, if you are familiar with some blogs, why I have not included EduBlogs. EduBlogs is basically an iteration of WordPress, but created solely for educators, and it's found at edublogs.org, or you can just go to Google and type EduBlogs and you'll find it. The reason why I'm only focusing on Blogger and WordPress is because they're two different platforms. If you learn how to use WordPress, you'll be able to take that over to EduBlogs and use that, and you'll be very comfortable moving in and around their menus. The primary activity for this unit is going to be to create a blog. There will be a couple of other quizzes and small things and videos to watch, but the primary goal for this unit is to get your feet wet creating a blog. I will post additional support videos down below that I've generated, as well as locations to find other resources and how to find those resources. But I wanted to point this out. There are three key places to check for support that many people don't think to check, or they don't know how to look. The first is to make sure you identify whatever the platform you choose, their FAQ section, find their support section, and most, I know with Blogger and with WordPress, and probably some other smaller communities as well, there are huge support communities. People sometimes that work for these organizations, and it's often people who don't, who just have a knowledge and they want to share it. Tap into that resource. My second is Google. Not many people know that you can literally ask Google questions, and I'll do another tutorial a little bit later on how to do that. But in the same way you can go to Google, you can also go to YouTube. Ask the question, how do I center an image in Blogger? If you type that question into Google, I'll guarantee you'll find the answer. If you type it into YouTube, I'll 99% guarantee you'll find a video explaining to you how to do it, and we'll talk about that here in a moment as well. And as always, see the additional tutorials that I will post below. After you've finished making your blog, I want you to post the URL to your blog below. I'm going to create another form where you can drop that in. I also want you to go and look at other people's blogs. And then once you've done that, I want you to come back and you'll view the second part of this unit.